Hi everyone, what we're going to do today, we're going to do a drive like an instructor video, and it's one thing that I've not even touched on in many videos before. It's how to drive economically. So what we've got is me in my car. The car has been used a little bit earlier on just for one lesson, so it's not completely cold, but I've just literally started it up and I've taken the roof box off because that's one of the main things that can help me before I start. The roof box causes so much drag, it's untrue. So that's off, and we're going to have a look at seeing how we can drive economically. What I'm actually going to do is just reset the miles per gallon that I do, and it's going to start from now. So literally we're off. Let's see what we can do economy wise. So the car that I'm driving, if you don't know, it's a 2-litre diesel which is suited to probably longer motorway journeys, but we're going to try and have a little look. I've got nothing scripted. All I'm going to do is just drive and just talk and just see what's what. This is an interesting situation, this. I'm just going to let that car go. I'll have a little gab about that in a second. Although I was doing the left turn there are cobbles at the end of the sort of like cul-de-sac where I live, so I'm not going to assume priority, and that's why I just held back and let that other one go. And that's probably the opposite of what we need to try and do today to try and drive economically. What we're going to be trying to do is actually do our very, very best to keep on moving. So this lady crossing with a dog down at the end, I've already backed off and I've made certain that she's going to be clear before I go, because then I can just edge and again keep rolling, and that's going to be the main basis of what I'm going to try and do today. Acceleration, I'm going to be nice and smooth. Smooth use of all the controls is really important, and having the mindset of trying to keep moving, like I've already explained, is the whole idea. I'm going to give us a little analogy of this in a moment, and again I'm slow and early and I'm allowing my car to just keep rolling. Cool, haven't stopped yet, apart from the guy who will let out near the cobbles. Now, have you ever pushed a broken down car? If you have, you'll understand that I wouldn't say it's massively difficult to get started, but it can be a little bit more awkward than actually keeping it moving, and that's the point. It's the point that we're trying to utilize as we're driving the car. Unfortunately, this scenario, you have to stop. What's going to go on with this now? Will the stop start work? Yes. Air conditioning, I'm going to turn that off as well, because everything that comes off your engine, anything that's worked from your engine, is going to have a small little drain on fuel economy. So hey BMW, turn off the air conditioning. And it's turned off the air conditioning. I've
deactivated the air conditioning system.
Okay, and going on to just that situation as well, turning the aircon off can help. Having windows open, I've found in different driving conditions, can actually be worse than having the air conditioning on. The extra drag caused by having a window open can actually have that much of a detrimental effect on your fuel economy. So air conditioning's off. Temperature, I'm just going to either sweat or freeze in this quest to see what we can do miles per gallon. The car being switched off, stop start, have this activated. Cars are designed to start and stop many times. I know it does put extra strain on different components of the car, but they're manufactured in this way, so utilize this as well. If we were to go a stage further, say if there was a set of lights that were stopped for a long period of time, maybe a canal, and you've got a swing bridge, maybe turn even your car off, or even at a train station. Do whatever you can to save fuel. Okay, super. So the point in which I'm changing gear is also as early as I can, so the next gear then becomes usable as soon as I can. Higher gears are going to save a little bit more fuel. You can't change gear too early. That's also another issue. If you change gear too early, if you change before that next gear is going to be workable, all that's going to happen is that next gear is going to struggle and you'll end up using a little bit more fuel. So I'm going to plan this out. I'm going to aim to get in before the lights this time. It's not always possible. Peugeot's let me out nicely. Thanking you. So we're planning to keep moving. So forward planning, eyes up the road, is really important. But I'm going to make certain that I'm not causing issues. On a 30 limit, I am going to do 30 miles an hour wherever possible. I'm not going to drive excessively slowly, but there may be a situation when I pop up onto the motorway shortly that I might be going below 70, and I'll explain why in a sec. So anticipation of the lights. If we're off the gas, we're off the accelerator, how much fuel does your car use? Well, none, until it slows down to idle speed. When it gets back to idle speed, it then starts using a little bit. But if you can come off the gas for as much as you can, you're using no fuel. It's all free driving. So what are we looking like at the moment? 38.8 miles per gallon. Okay, let's see what we can get this to. We'll be able to get this 2 litre diesel driving around on a variety of roads. We'll be able to get it over 50. I've done it many times before, but it does depend on the flow of the traffic. It depends on many different scenarios, but we're trying to plan and trying to keep moving as much as we can. So gear changing again, second early, using light and gentle acceleration, third early, good, and then fourth gear as well. This car is just on the cusp of fourth gear being usable at 30 miles an hour. What I say to my pupils at 30 is, if it's a big, clear, long, straight road, very little hazards, maybe third gear just gives them that little bit more flexibility. But I tell them to change into fourth when it's a nice clear road like we've got at this little section. Sound. So what I'm going to do, I've still got a plan. Now I'm just going to squeeze my gas a little. No, he's going too much, so I'm just going to back off. I'm going to put a signal on and just tell people nice and early what I'd like to do. Don't need to now, because the bus has moved away, so you can see how far ahead I was trying to deal with this bin wagon. Look at the lights up ahead. When have I got enough momentum to get there? Well, I have now, so I'm going to come off the gas. I'm not going to cause any issues with people behind. I'm going to use the lightest, gentlest brake, and I'm not going to pop it into neutral like I see many taxi drivers do when I'm using their services to get into town at the weekend. People think that popping it into neutral saves fuel. It actually doesn't. It does not use much, but it still uses some, because the engine's got to keep itself at idle rather than the slowing down in gear where it uses absolutely none on these modern cars. So what are we up to? 44.6, and I've just driven on really town roads. So I'm going to head on to the motorway in a little second and see what's what. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put my sunglasses on, keep hold of the wheel at all times, make sure you don't take both hands off, make sure even if you're taking one hand off that you know exactly what's happening up ahead and you're planning even when to do that. It's another point that's lost on some people. Now this one behind was really close. He's probably going to try and come past, so I'm just going to back off. Wasn't much plan on his part. He's got a dent right down the side of his car, so he's something I'm going to be aware of a bit further up. I'm always trying to keep my engine working at the most comfortable level. I know I'm turning right onto the motorway, so I'm just going to use a little opportunity to get myself into this space. Fourth gear, nice and early again, keep up with the flow. But again, I'm being so light and so gentle. Now the lights down at the bottom have just changed. You may not have been able to see them with where the green lorry is positioned, but I'm suspecting by the time we get there, these lights may very well have changed back. So again, I'm off the pedal. It's free driving at the moment. Look at the top value, 99.9 miles a gallon. That's saying it's using nothing effectively. I think we're going to be able to carry third gear. Again, I'm still off. I've just changed to a lower gear, that's all. And turning right. Planning underneath the bridge, brake lights are coming on, so I'm suspecting the lights are on the wrong colour. So again, I'm off the gas as much as I can. Can I keep moving? That then helps. The car engine has got less work to do if we can keep moving. It's a skill that lorry drivers use a lot, and even saving 1 mile per gallon in a lorry driver is a massive big thing. Sorry, just someone who I know saying hello. Should he use the horn? No, he shouldn't. I was just backing off there. The silver Focus came round the outside of the BMW. Now I am accelerating a little bit because I don't want to cause problems here. So I'm foregoing any fuel economy for safety, and that's really important to understand as well. So we used a little bit of gas to stay in front of the Audi. Okay, I am going to stay on the motorway for a bit. So. Zoomed up close, so I've just created more space, and now I'm going to go and drop into 6th. I'm going to be at the same speed as the slowest traffic on the motorway. That's how I tend to roll if I was in the fuel saving, economical mindset. It might be lorries in the left hand lane stuck to 55, 56 miles an hour, no problems. It might be something towing something, like looks as though we've got up ahead, looks as though they've got a trailer. But all I'm going to do, I'm going to sit at their speed, because the difference between me doing 57 miles an hour and 58 miles an hour compared to 70 on fuel economy is colossal. It's absolutely massive. It might even be as much as 10-15%, might even be more than that in certain vehicles. The rev counter's nice and low. It's working about 1400 revs, but again, I'm not going to sacrifice fuel economy over safety, so I'm just keeping an eye on this. I was ready to use a little bit of power, sacrifice a little bit of fuel, just so I can sort that situation out. So I'm just going to pop us back into the left, roll. So cruise control, there we go. 58 miles an hour. We're catching them in front. No, we've got plenty of space. Yes, it's about right. And I'm going to be ready to adjust this depending on what's happening further up. So ultimate fuel economy is a steady higher speed. Now it's not zooming and then slowing, it's getting an average higher speed that you should be aiming to do, and that's what I'm trying to do here today. What are we up to? We are above 50 miles per gallon. We're on a motorway. What's it doing at the moment while I'm just sat trundling? It's doing in the 70s and 80s. 6th gear, working 1400 revs. It's so comfortable, no problems. All right, but that's not going to be consistent throughout. If I just stayed on the motorway, we'd easily well be above 50 miles a gallon, but that would be too easy. So I'm going to test myself. I'm going to see whether I can now keep it above that 50 miles a gallon, and I'm going to come off the motorway. Okay. Now, Speed should not be dropped while you're on the motorway if at all possible. It should be kept going. And what I'm actually going to do, because I know this slip road, is I'm going to keep the cruise control on to keep the speed going as we go up this slight incline. But I'm not going to sacrifice safety. I'm just going to cancel it a little second and just touch the gas and balance the car going around this. It looks as though it's fairly wet and a greasy road surface. Now down the other side of the hill I can lessen the pressure again. Alright, I'm off the gas. There's no one that's any issue behind. There is a roundabout coming up. The van behind is a big enough distance that it not to be a big problem. And all that since the top of the hill has been free driving. Apart from obviously the depreciation of the car, but free fuel. I'm going to go ahead at the roundabout. Again, I'm going to try and keep flowing at my average highest speed I can. Yeah, we're good. I've done it early. I've kept in third. No issues with that, if you can see, and it's not sharp. And unusually, using my signals. Trying to rescue the rep of BMW drivers, I think, and German car manufacturer drivers, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. So 30 miles an hour, the speed limit is again cruise control. People only generally use cruise control on motorways, but this is perfect. The car is going to be a lot more fuel efficient keeping to that speed than we are. Try it, but to be able to use cruise control in these scenarios you have to be planning. What are you expecting these lights to do? I'll be very surprised if they don't change. So I'm just cancelling the cruise control momentarily. Yeah, we're through. Kids are an issue. Sound. And now I'm going to press resume and just let the car just take itself smoothly back up to that 30 limit. Next set I've also got a problem with, because I'm going to turn right and they are more than likely again going to change by the time I get there. So because of that, again, cancelling cruise control, and I'm slowing as early as I can. No problems. So there's not going to be every single situation where you're going to be able to keep moving, but I haven't actually stopped that much since we started 16 minutes ago. Okay. So anything that works off the car's engine and the electrical system has a slight pull on fuel economy. The car manufacturers have got better, in my opinion, on making the cars more fuel efficient even with systems running. I actually don't tend to find a massive difference with air conditioning on. I've still regularly got above 50 miles per gallon. The bus is parked, no one's around. I'm going to signal to let the bus know I'm moving out. Let the bus know I'm moving out. And again, I'm just backing off. Well done, bus driver, to see where I was going before you moved off. That's very good driving from the bus driver. Top class, rather than just pulling out. How much traffic's coming from the left? I'm going to again do my utmost to keep moving. I'm going to be able to do it this time. Yes. So again, the engine's had to do that little less work to get us going. Okay, again, I'm not going to sacrifice fuel economy over safety. I'm just going to use a little touch just to get from away from the bus. I'm just going to delay my move back in just in case there's any issues with the bus coming out, and I'm not going to move back in until I'm after the crossing, but I can tell people first. Definitely not going to go back into lane one with the cyclist there. And again, next set of lights, not the crossing, next set are on red, so even now I'm trying to do my best to plan it early. Okay, as soon as the lights change, I was back on the gas there and keeping going again, which is again, maintaining speed is better than trying to build. Planning again. Not much is moving from the junction on the left. Second gear this time, as long as the one in front moves, and I gave myself space to allow that to happen. Again, Back to my gear changing nice and early. There's nothing that I need to sacrifice fuel for safety at the minute, so I can do my utmost to drive economically. And this is a good skill that you can practice yourself on planning. The signal there is to help the silver BMW know that I'm coming back in, therefore that they can plan their move back to the middle if they were going to. He might be turning right up ahead. Signal to move out wasn't required. No one's affecting it. So it's a skill for planning fuel economy. Because the section of road was quite quiet, it is a 40 limit, I've stayed at 35. There's a queue up ahead as well. I'm expecting these lights to change, so I'm just being ready. I've got escape routes to the right, so that's not an issue. And again, slow and nice and early. Now there is an argument with that scenario as well, that if I'd have been doing 40, could I have kept up with the flow and then maybe with that pulse of traffic? Yes, but that's actually impossible to tell all the time. I would always advise keeping up with the flow, because when people are so much slower than others, it then causes hold up for everyone. They'll be forced along, but keeping up with the flow is quite important. But it's not so bad in this car here. What I've just said about keeping up with the flow doesn't matter. The car's actually at this point got to the lights and it's just done its stop start and it's switched itself off, so it's no big deal. Filter lane traffic's finishing, so I'm just going to wait for the lights to change. We're going to be within a few seconds, I would have thought, unless someone else is going. Nope, it's us. So again, back to my gear changing as economically as it can. I tend to find anything just up to 2000 revs, and then I can change gear. I think that's in its economical band. What I mean by that the next gear is then going to be working comfortably and it's not struggling, and then using excess fuel to try and push us along. I'm going to get to the roundabout and turning right, so I'm just going to do a little lane change. Signal's absolutely beneficial. There's people around who could be thinking of overtaking. And now I'm planning where the car is behind. If the car was closer, still might be intending to slow earlier, but I'd just be mindful of the progress of everyone as well. I'd never be forced into doing anything. Now the white one's fairly far back, I've been able to come off my gas early. And again, planning, which is the last one I'm waiting for. I think I can go straight away as long as the girl stays there. Yeah, she does. And again, another roundabout where I've been able to flow through in third. I'm going all the way round. Gear's just working, it's not really flexible. Couldn't go much slower, but with planning, I know I don't need to. So we're all good. 20 limit on this road. Again, cruise control. There we go. Third gear's again just okay. What are we running at miles per gallon? 58.4. That's actually pretty good. Been able to give people a decent example of this already. Same sort of thing in this car. Third gear at 20 compared to fourth gear at 30. If the road is like we're on at the minute, very little hazards, third gear is fine. But if it was more hazardous, I'd maybe be tempted to go into second gear for a little bit more flexibility. The Audi stopped nice and early, no problems. I'm going to turn right, so slow and early, letting the woman finish, looking early, scanning through the fences side to side. It's obviously closed, so looking first, and again just keep it moving. Okay, I look at the one behind and I have to use a little bit more acceleration there just to get to 20 that little bit quicker because of the one at the back. Planning the parked taxi or the broken down taxi, don't know, on yellows, and I'm going to position nice and early, not broken down, but notice my position showed the taxi what was going on. I think he was thinking about moving there. Now I'm going to go up into the higher gear. Next left as well we're taking. Assessing the junction really early, it's not sharp, and I'm leaning forward, it's really clear, so third gear is totally fine to go around here. But again, back to the taxi, and why I chose to stay in second gear was again that flexibility. I'm never going to sacrifice fuel economy over safety. Okay, so resumed the cruise control to 20 miles an hour, and I'm still planning. No issues with anything to the left. The grass cut is totally fine. No one we're crossing. This lady just watching out, making sure she's staying there. She doesn't give me any clue at the minute that she's going to walk across. She's held back, she's stopped. The lad's on a bike. We're actually going faster than 20. That's good effort with them on the handlebars. I'm not condoning that that's safe, but ride your bike in a safe way. Let's have a little look at this. Schools aren't in at the minute, so we shouldn't have loads of problems with that. What are we doing for fuel economy? 58.9. Slow and early for the crossing. I'm going to do my utmost again to make this change by the time I get there. There's no one actually there, so it's just changed onto a red man. We're going good. Maybe I could have picked second there, but because I revved matched the gear change, the lower gear change perfectly, it's then less of a pull and less of a problem to get it away. Back to 20, resume the cruise control. We're all good. No issues around. Have I surprised you at the minute by how much I've been able to keep the car moving? And that does take skill. It takes anticipation, it takes planning, like I've said. Even understanding how that crossing worked, that it was a puff-in crossing, and while no one was there, the sensors should pick up that there's no one there and change back quickly. Even understanding that knowledge allows you to plan. Any issues at the shops, as far as I can tell up to now? Lights when I get there are probably going to be on red, but if you're really good at this, the first time you see the light, sometimes people say usually they're going to be on the other colour by the time you get there. If you're really good, you can often do it that they'll be back on the same colour the first time you saw them. So is that going to be possible here? Extra slow and roll again. It is. These are changing. That car jumped. Cyclist is okay, and I was able to even keep rolling. So the little micro there jumped. I was watching the traffic lights at the side that right and left were watching to see when we were going to go. This is now a 30 limit, but I do know the road a little bit further up, and it's quite problematic sometimes. So I'm just going to leave us in third gear. Again, back to this phrase that I've used, I'm never going to sacrifice safety over fuel economy. Okay. Any issues around? Lady to the right, no. People crossing up ahead's not been activated. Car to the right is turning this way, so no issues. Parked cars on the left, trying to look down the pavement where the people are to see who's coming the other way. Still got to give good space. Silver Fiesta's coming the other way. I'm going to be able to clear back into my safe space beforehand. And even here, I'm trying to plan my little routes through. Even the next car coming the other way, the Focus, slowing to narrow space to slow my speed, and then again building slowly. This stretch is cleared, so back into fourth whenever I can. Okay, what are we like? 58.3, that's pretty good going. Next set of traffic lights, I'm going to be turning right, so they're probably going to change when I get there. Yes, they do. Because of the size of the road side to side, for me that means it's less likely for them to be changing back. So I'm going to get here, secure, relax. My foot's still on the foot brake until someone joins me behind. Remember, you haven't seen videos on that before, that's just a warning. So as soon as this little Renault joins me behind and I'm happy with them, I'm off the brake. Side to side lights, just about make out that green one on the left. Traffic's clearing, yeah, so the lights are changing. And now what I'm doing straight away is planning far down the other side where the red fronted bus is. That's what I'm looking at. I'm trying to look at the last vehicle again, I'm doing my utmost without inconveniencing any of the flow to keep moving. Am I going to be able to do it? Is that space big enough to walk across? It is. My road's clear, so I'm taking it. Early second on the corner once I'd set my steering, and back to my economical gear changes. We don't want any high revs unless we need it, like I said, for safety. Early position for all the parked ones, no signal required, wasn't affecting anyone. Fourth gear is fine because I've got extra space. A little point on this with the dual carriageway stuff: if the road is wide enough, the straddle position is acceptable and totally fine if it's worthwhile. Just remember that, if it's worthwhile. If the road isn't wide enough for everyone to have good space, take your position in your lane. Cruise control, I think we will set it back there. If there's not enough room on a dual carriageway to make 3 lanes out of 2, choose this outside lane. And you can also choose this outside lane even if there is enough room. Just cancelling the cruise for a little moment just for the white one. Resume. So yeah, by all means use lane 2 if it's not going to be a use to anyone, if it's not going to be helpful. Roundabout, I'm going to turn left. The Jag is catching me, so I am just going to pre-warn them and I wish to move back to that left lane. Cancel the cruise control off early, reapply the signal so he definitely knows I'm going. There's a gap after the white van, third's fine, off we go. Have you been taught to do all roundabouts in second gear by your instructor? It's not always required. Back to what I was saying about the dual carriageway, this is wide enough to make 3 out of 2, so that's why I'm positioning here in a straddle position. There is a Volvo SUV that's catching me, the Jag's tucked in behind. Cruise control back onto 30. So yeah, have you been taught to do all roundabouts in second gear? Shows a lack of observation, a lack of teaching ability by your instructor as well. Have a look early, some aren't very sharp, some you can make up your mind really early. I've done a fair few today. Now there's a parked car and I'm just keeping an eye on the Volvo, so I'm just going to, again, just put a signal. Signals are there to be used to ask, not to do, and the effectiveness of that signal was perfect. Never put the signal on as you move. Never get into a habit of putting the signal on every single situation. You have to time your signals correctly. Okay. Nice considerate driving by the Volvo next to us, and again, it's back to planning. We know what's going on here, car's off. Are you surprised that this car with 190 brake, I think it's got, it's 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. Don't even know the top speed, and it doesn't really interest me, to be honest. Would you expect this car to do 60 miles per gallon? Hasn't just been on motorways either. What does your car do on your journeys? Test the next one. Reset your fuel computer and then have a little look and see whether you can put a few of these things into practice that I've highlighted today and see whether it saves you money, because you'll be surprised it will. Cars are getting naturally more efficient. Again, I'm just going to put a right signal on just in case the blue one is a bit dozy and can't see. What position should I take up here? Is it wide enough of straddle? No, lane 2. Resume cruise control and settle. Satellites at the top are on green. So, what's going to happen by the time we get there? So what can we do to maximise our efficiency? Cruise control uses fuel. I've got enough momentum, so I'm backing off. And to help the cars behind, I'm taking an early position back in so they can choose to go on and go past me if they need to. So yeah, have a go at this. There's a eco standpoint of this as well, that we are using our cars far too much, and if we could all drive in this way, imagine how nice the roads would be if everyone was planned. We're also doing our little bit to save the planet. Not enough, I will add, although I'm an advocate for driving cars and teaching people. Obviously it's my job and my profession. Why don't we walk more? Why don't we cycle more? Okay, that is the way forward. Electric cars are definitely here and are going to help that situation, but they still use energy to propel them down the road. Although it's a lower level than these horrible diesel engines, it still should be something that we should all think of. I might be doing myself out of work, but that's how things are going to go, and it's how things should go. So if in the meantime we have to drive a car for our purpose of work or our daily life, let's see whether we can do it in a good way. 60.3 miles per gallon, not bad going. Got a few little problems that are probably going to increase my consumption a bit further up. Here I've got a little one, I'm just going to back off, I'm not going to merge in turn. I should really be up with that blue one, but I just chose to forego that space, if you like, just in again the situation. Don't want to be zooming off, I'll be conserving as much fuel as I can for those reasons I've just mentioned. Travelling close to people, like the private hire driver is doing to the one in front, is very reactive. A big cost for any road user is the fuel. Would you say that you use more fuel than it would cost you to insure? Some people that would definitely be the case. It would maybe even be the case for the private hire driver. So you imagine if you're not 10% off your fuel bill every year, that's a fair few quid, and it's going to do the bits to help the environment like I've explained. So it's what we should be doing. Still at 60.3 miles a gallon, I'm off the gas, I'm using no fuel until it gets to idle, which is there in force. So the clutch has gone down, it's a controlled roll, you don't need to be changing gear until you know what gear you're going to pick. I've kept my speed going, blue one's kept moving, I'm up with the flow, and again I'm just going to try and merge in turn, which is what I should be doing, and the Volkswagen's correctly held back. Nice job. The only issue that you will have in driving this way, and you have to be really hard-faced with it, is that you will get people who don't have this planning, who don't have this ability, thinking that they've got to zoom off to the next set of lights to stop there for a longer time. So just be appreciative of other people around you when you're doing this. Not everyone is going to be as skilled and as educated in this as maybe you are. So one of those things. Will third gear work? No, unfortunately not. I'm going to pick second. I can move that along nicely. I'm still at 60.3 miles per gallon. Gentle and smooth accelerating. I don't want that to go down. If we get above 60, I'll be well happy with that. Not bad going in 36 minutes as well. Now, what's your thoughts? How many of those things would you put into practice? Are there any other things that I've not mentioned? Let me give you a little clue here. What about the mechanical aspects of driving? What about your car in itself? What could you do to improve fuel economy? Something that people don't check very often. I think I've made that pretty obvious, but it's another part to it. Making sure your car's maintained well. I often find that when my car has been in for a service, the fuel economy jumps slightly back up. An older car may not be as fuel efficient. Can't always, and everyone can't afford the latest models. But in your choice of car, can you choose a car next time that's going to be kinder to the environment and using less fuel? We've dipped below 60, gutted. Not sure whether I'm going to be able to get that back either. There's not a long enough stretch. Have I kept that moving? Yes, but it's this little bit of acceleration now that's going to pull pull those numbers down a bit so you can do it as gently as it can. We've gone down to 59.7. Gutted. Okay, that rumbling isn't the car, that was road surface at that point. I didn't change gear too early. Alright, so I hope that's been a little eye-opener. I will say doing everything we can for fuel economy isn't necessarily what IAM and ROSPA and the part 2 of driving instructor courses, it's not necessarily what they're after. They're after maybe showing a little more than that. And if you drove in the way that I have driven today in some of those sort of tests and examinations, you may very well be marked down. I personally don't see why in certain scenarios. I suppose you've got to show the assessor and the examiners what you're capable of, so I get that, but for me most of the time excessive speed is all it's going to do is just get you to the next set of lights sooner and earlier, and you'll just be waiting for longer, so it doesn't necessarily help. But I hope that's been interesting for everyone today. I'm going to finish it as I do this this left turn here, but what have we ended up with? 59.3. It's not too bad going. Thank you so much for all your support, and even the people who question some of the things that I put out. I get that, that's what my channel should be about, and I put myself in the eye of all my viewers, and I don't expect people just to agree with everything I say, so thank you very much for everyone's input. I'll speak to you all soon and see you all soon. Keep economical.